it pains me to say this, but it was 2 years ago today that you lost your son, Richard, correct?
Yes, sir. They say one pill, one Xanax, one pill. That's all it took. So they came around in the bedroom and they caught me, and we came back, and I've nursed my whole life. I was a nurse my whole life, and tried CPR, tried Narcan twice. It gave him, but it didn't help. The paramedics came, and they brought him to our living room, and they made us step outside, and they worked on him for 45 minutes in our living room. And then transported him with no code. And they knew because they didn't hurry as a nurse. You know, they hurry. If someone's coding or something, they're hurrying, they're rushing, and they didn't. One pill can kill. But they didn't investigate my son. They didn't do an investigation. They asked me questions like, where he had been or something like that. They didn't subpoena his cell phone. They didn't, investigate it. And that's where I'm pushing, because even though it was an overdose, my son was poisoned by fentanyl. And they need to investigate every overdose.
A lot of these are just looked at as overdoses. They're not looked at as poisonings, and they are poisonings.
One thing, Dr. Phil, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but Lauren Boebert from Colorado and Tim Ryan from Ohio, bipartisan resolution to declare fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. The Families Against Fentanyl, Jimmy Rao is the president. His son, he lost his son in Ohio. And so that's the kind of perception everyone in America has to realize. This is not a opioid overdose. It's a destruction of our communities, our families, our country. And that's the direction we have to move in.
Yeah.
I mean, most of these kids got put on it from doctors. My son, he got his baseball hit him in the face. He was a pitcher.
Me was a broken hand.
Him was a broken hand. Me was my back. It's all comes from a doctor, and then the doctor cuts you off, and that's when it starts.
Yeah, it is poison. Like you said, he's being deceived to death.
They're being deceived to death.
Police need to treat it like a murder when they show up at a poisoning, and they need to take evidence.
Right.
And this hasn't been happening, but now law enforcement is learning.
Treated
how
like a
to-
murder scene.
That's right.
There's Task Force 10 in San Diego, in LA. They're solving these cases now. They're bringing them to the United States attorneys. They're getting really long prison sentences. So they're starting to really do it now, but need the prosecutors to step up, Dr. Phil.
Yeah. And you one last point that you make so well is don't make the mistake of thinking that your family's immune, because this can happen to anybody because it is deception.
Yes, sir. So no matter how close you are, I mean, I had a 3-hour discussion with my son the night before, because I had intuition that something, I don't know. 3 hours I asked him, is anything wrong? Is anything going on?
That's so weird.
He had a newborn baby. He was put off starting school. He had 18, just stressors and everything. He was athletic. He was his team's, basketball captain. He had all these goals. And now he's on a billboard in Bakersfield.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.